She said, see you later, boy. She wasn't good enough for her. Oh, hey guys. Welcome back to the Bug Think Tank for the round of comic chat, and we'll get right into it with Star Wars Yoda issue 6. A book we are one issue behind on after this, but we'll get caught up before the month is out if we're lucky. So anyway, we last left off with this story. We found out that Chris had gone on a meditation retreat with his fellow younglings. Remember, Chris, or Curse, however he pronounces his Wookiee name, has been having visions that one of his friends is going to become a Sith, or fall to the dark side. And this may also be due to the fact that their two species have a history of, not getting along. So it's an interesting idea if whether or not their ingrained prejudices may be affecting his visions, which actually has created so much of other stuff we've seen, especially regarding Anakin. But anyway, enough of that. So, fight breaks out, interrupting Yoda's meditation retreat. He's like, oh hell, I gotta go figure out what these kids are doing. And he goes down. I was like, oh dear, we gotta stop this. And he was like, all right, everybody, let's sit down and shut up for 5 minutes and figure out what's going on here. So he explains himself. I'm like, okay, so sense the dark side in. Do you sense it in me too? He goes, no. I'm like, ooh, that's bad. Dark side exists in everything. All right. So what's bringing this on? Like a vision. All right. So she says, I'm not going to turn. I'm going to be a Jedi. And Yoda goes, you've seen her turn, you have. And when will this, when will this happen? When will this appear? And he's like, you don't know. You don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know what's going to cause it. In other words, he may have actually created the catalyst that will lead her to fall to the dark side. But Yoda points out, this is all stupid. What's happening here is, what is motivating this vision here? Is it fear? Is it anger? Is it both? Is it tenets of the dark side that are leading you to have this vision? And that's an interesting thing, too. Because in the context of Revenge of the Sith, Anakin doesn't start having his nightmares until he finds out that Padme is pregnant. So, why is that serious? Well, because Anakin still feels bad about the death of his mother, which makes sense. And now, this whole new future thing, being a dad, this whole new era of responsibility, what if he can't protect him? So he has a vision, and the visions of Padme dying. We know that does happen. But could have just been a regular dream? That, hey, or something goes wrong, he'll be unable to protect Padme the same way he couldn't protect his mother, and then it goes a bit further down the road. Then again, it was also revealed that Palpatine was also influencing those visions too. So, who knows? Who knows? Also, in the book, in the novelization, Palpatine also implies that, Kenobi and Padme are having an affair. But anyway. So, Yoda breaks up the fight. They all go off somewhere. They all go back to Coruscant. Yoda talks to Dooku like, so, what the hell was that? And Dooku explains, yeah, he talked to me about it. I gave him some advice. And Dooku was remembering his friend Sifo-Dyas, who also had visions. And really, this came down to Dooku hoping he could guide this youngling, down a better path than Sifo-Dyas went. Or at the very least, with these visions, if we paid more attention to them, maybe certain things could be avoided. But Yoda points out, we keep going on, if we just go off of prophecies that we don't understand, or visions we don't properly understand, that's not going to fix anything. It's going to make things worse. And also, this sort of question of Dooku thinking, do you trust me? I trust you with the students, yeah. You only killed, one of them. But anyway. So, sadly, our friend, the lovely lizard, says, you know what? I do not want Kirsch to have to leave. I don't want to give more terror to my friend. So she's resolving to leave the Jedi Order, knowing she can never come back. And I've been like, no, that's his problem. He needs to get over it. I'm the Jedi. So she goes off, and Yoda's like, I respect your decision. And I'm like, whoa. So Yoda does view this as one of his greatest failures. And you can see there is some wisdom to her idea that, hey, as long as I'm here, he's going to be under constant threat and worry about what I may become. And I think the best way to avoid that would be if I just left the Jedi Order. Is she going home? To her home world? To her parents? She's not. Then what is this? You're just letting orphans go off. I don't know. But apparently they arranged something for her. But, Kirsch clearly doesn't have friends anymore after this, because he's essentially bullied one of his classmates, one of his friends, into leaving the Jedi Order, and the Jedi Master's like, well, she wanted to go, I'll let her go. And Yoda sort of reflects on this on Dagobah, and another voice comes up to him and says, like, hey, you can't avoid me forever. And that's how the comic ends. Ultimately, this story feels... I didn't quite know what to expect when it started, because we knew by default there'd be no real consequences. This all happens in the past. None of these characters, I think we see it all. We may see the tiger later in, I think, one of the old Republic stories for the villains with Dooku. But otherwise, no, that's kind of it. Yoda's role here is pretty much he's very passive. He's waiting for people to come to him with a problem so we can guide them through the problem. All right, I think he felt should have been a bit more heavy-handed, because they did end up losing a promising Jedi Knight because of this. But also, Kirsch's visions. Were they true? Were they not? Yoda's whole idea is we don't understand them, so we shouldn't be constantly acting on them. I don't know. Overall, it was fun. It wasn't that great. Next issue is wild, though. Kind of wild. Next, we have Superman issue 4, Dawn of DC, Down the Claws of Kryptonite. And this one is kind of wild, alright? Because I did not see that ending coming. So anyway. So Silver Sable, Siobhan, as she's called, as is her real name, is, getting up for it, and she's also telling her roommate, or whoever, saying, hey, you gotta get down to the Daily Planet, before they chew you out. And as she goes to the door, it is Farm, and she's like, hey, I got a proposition for you. Siobhan doesn't want to hear it, and luckily, or unluckily for Siobhan, Farm has these kryptonite claws and says, like, we know radiation, this kryptonite radiation has an effect on Kryptonians, but we never thought what it could do to other people. Like, it's still radiation. Like, who knows what it could do. And, they take Silver Banshee, and that's sort of it. Then we cut to Stryker's Island, and this is actually a really fun moment where the criminals at Stryker's talk about how easy it is at Stryker's. As compared to Blackgate Prison or God forbid Arkham Asylum, like, this is a spa, alright? And it clearly doesn't do anything to offset crime in Metropolis, because people are like, yeah, I'm so grateful I'm here. Tell them they're going to Blackgate or Arkham, and they'll straighten out. But anyway. This then starts to being a disrespect rant about Superman. And Lex overhears. Remember, there's no bigger Superman fan than Lex. He loves him so much he hates him. So, the guy points out, who's better than Superman? Batman! And Lex takes great offense. He grabs an acorn, and I guess he has superpowers. He takes one of the seeds out of it, and he shoots it into the prison inmate's mouth. And we cut Superman going, so, I hate to tell you this, how'd you know that he had an allergic reaction to peanuts? And Lex is like, so, technically, the seeds of an acorn do not contain anything that would trigger an allergic reaction to peanuts. But this leads to another conversation about Superman and Lex's new relationship, which is Lex saying, look, Superman, something's coming, and I'm giving you Lex Core to become Super Core so we can work on it together, because something else is coming and you aren't ready for it. So over the course of these, apparently, let's say a couple months, Superman and Lex have been working together. They've been brokering peace between rival kingdoms. They've put out they've found lost treasures. They have solved 70-year-old murder mysteries. They've even helped Ant-Man in his small little. I still don't think it's called the Quantum Realm. I don't know what it's called. I don't know what Adam calls it. I know what Ant-Man calls it. But whatever. Like, we've been doing good. Superman still doesn't trust him because he doesn't tell him anything about Farm and Gar. So Lex is fine. But to begin, I have to tell you about when I first came to Metropolis. See, Clark, while you were having all this fun in high school, I was like, you know what? Screw Metropolis. Screw this small town, Smallville. Good Lord. Screw Smallville. End of the series. It didn't age right. And oh my God. We all know what happened with Chloe. But anyway, moving on. Lex is around Metropolis. He's a young man. He's sort of got this rage to him. He sees a world that needs his help. He feels a bit like Ozymandias when Adrian Veidt first came to the city. Like, you know what? I can save the city. We can save this world. And he's like, huh, all right. Seems to be a crime problem. All right. So I shall go in with my science and become what looks to be a weird fusion of Riddler and Joker. Is that Lex? I guess, but be angrier about it. So he goes and he throws like these science bombs. Like they never says what he calls them. But this also leads to his first meeting with Farm and Gar and him uncovering their labs and the people they experiment on. And so that is it. And I do love that Lex even has like the lines, "Don't worry, citizens, my technology will free you." I'm like, oh my god, Lex calls them citizens. Great, great. Superman's like, "You were lying. You were never a hero." Lex is like, "Okay, rude." And like, that is totally what happened. I may have embellished a bit, but as you can tell, my heartbeat's not changed, so I'm not lying. And Superman's like, "Look, you may think you're telling the truth. You may believe that's what happened, but I'm pretty sure that's not what happened." So anyway, so tell me where Farm and Gar are. And Lex like, "I don't quite know, but I know where their first lab was, the lab that he found." So he goes down there. Turns out they've been ready for it. It's a trap. And what happens? Silver Banshee comes out, fully kryptonite radiated, and going through, putting the hurt on Superman. And as they fight through, the fight breaks out from the lab. They have Metropolis, and Jimmy and Lois are there, and Superman is able to knock Silverbench down with a bit of the heat vision. The idea that he's learned to use just enough warmth to eliminate the air in her lungs so she can't scream, but not enough to hurt her. And as Superman's getting ready to close in on, Jimmy goes, "Superman, stop! You can't! I love her!" And everyone's like, "What? What if I told you Jimmy Olsen had that dog in him?" I guess. You turn your back and Jimmy Olsen's apparently smashing Silver Banshee. I'm like, oh, all right, Jimmy. All right, Jimmy Jim. I see you. That's how the story ends. So, I felt we could have gone a bit more into the history of Lex and his meeting with Farm and Gar. But, okay. Bringing Silver Banshee into this explains why she was there in the other issues before. Keeping her in the present, in at least sort of the background of the series before, it means she'll just come out of nowhere. We know what she's doing before. We know that was Livewire. Oh my god, I feel so bad. So anyway, yeah. So actually, this is more interesting. That means that Jimmy Olsen has been having this relationship with Siobhan. I never know how to pronounce that name. For a while. And what's also interesting is the fact that she's clearly trying to make her life better, because in the beginning, remember, we mentioned that she's talking to someone who has to go to work at the Daily Planet. That was Jimmy Olsen. Okay. And Jimmy's kept this a secret from everybody. I want to know if Clark is going to bring out, "Jimmy, you shouldn't keep secrets from people." And does the book just go, pardon, Clark? Granted, if you recall, Clark did totally give his identity to everybody a while ago. And then Lex undid that, but whatever. Ultimately, I think this issue is fine. Again, I like the idea that we're amping up classic Man from Superman's Rogues Gallery, because, hey, if Superman's going to get stronger, everyone else has to go up to meet that to some extent. Overall, though, again, that flashback with Lex could have been better. It's still hilarious. Like, let's go back a minute. Let's go back. Outside of that amazing scene stealer. That's great. Jimmy surprised me once again. This costume is ridiculous. Again, the green, the purple. It is Lex. Lex loves that color combination. So does the Joker. I want you to think about that. Lex and Joker have the same love of color scheme, so whatever. But there's no mask. There's no real mask. There's no attempt to hide it. So I think Lex just sort of came in. Oh my god, he's wearing an L. He's a walking L. Oh my god, Lex. You were young and stupid and had hair. So I guess like the more hair Lex Luthor has, the dumber he gets. Ignoring the whole Imperious Lex thing. But overall, yeah, I like this. I look forward to seeing what else comes from this story. Because once again, I think Josh Williamson has found a home so far. But then again, we're seeing a lot of build up here. We've seen how dangerous Farm is. We've seen that Farm knows how to move with whatever, and that he's been experimenting with kryptonite. So that's a great idea too, because that means theoretically, anytime whatever is powering these guys up could just hurt Superman. So that's fun. And we also haven't seen, I don't think we've seen just yet, how dangerous kryptonite can be to this stronger Superman. And finally, we have Superboy, the Man of Tomorrow, issue 2. So when we last left off with the story, Connor was feeling kind of left out, felt kind of like a third wheel in the Superman family. Actually, hang on. So, Clark, John, Kara, he was a fourth wheel. Now that sounds fun, but clearly the Superman family is supposed to be a trike. Alright, so he was a fourth wheel. It's weird. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to go off into space and find my own adventures, alright, with blackjack and hookers. And then he ended up trying to save this planet here, and then apparently these people called the Cosmonauts? Cosmoteers. The Cosmoteers. And Connor has sort of engaged in a fight with them. It's an interesting fight, really, just to see how diverse the Cosmoteers are. There's not a lot to. They often feel like a weird version of, like this weird fusion of the Guardians of the Galaxy with the Doom Patrol. At least that's the vibe you get from the story, but not so much in the origin. One thing we're seeing is that they have a no-holds-barred approach to their enemies. Like, yeah, we'll just kill them and go from there. They also don't seem to care about collateral damage or the proper evacuation of civilians, which is something that Connor's like, yeah, this isn't what heroes do. And the leader's like, yeah, we're not hearing that. Put a shot Connor on, knock him out, and they put him aboard the ship. And so, eventually, they come down and they explain, hey, here's our story and why we're not letting you go. So, we're clones, like you, Connor. So, hey, how you doing? Clone brother. From a bunch of different species, Daxamites, what was it? Kund, and other ones. So, each one different ones. We eventually broke out, and we thought that'd be it, but we knew there were definitely other people being created for weapons by the Dominators. So he's like, no more. We're going to go down there. We're going to free all the clones and bring this operation down. To which Connor's like, I get that, but you guys are definitely going about this the wrong way. You don't have to kill everybody. You also need to do a better job of protecting the innocent people. And they're like, nah, man, we do what we want. Also, I know how you said we shouldn't rush in. We're already there. So we're going to bum rush this whole operation. And so they go in, everything looks good. Connor's like, well, I wanted my own solo adventure. I'm getting it. And it's interesting because he often seems to want to backpedal a bit. Because he thinks of, what would Clark say at this time? If Tim was in a situation, he'd have a gadget out. Bart probably has it out. Cassie would have it out. I'm like, well, hold on. I've been relying on them so much. I wanted to go on my own. I'm on my own. So let's find the Connor Kent method. And he gets out, clever enough, using the force field to break his collar. And he goes in. Luckily, just as they reach what seems to be an unkillable monster, giving really dot hack Key of the Twilight bracelet vibes here. And he comes in, he helps him out, like, look, okay, so we can't kill it, so here's what we'll do. We're going to rough it up a bit, keep it off its guard, and then we're going to freeze it. And then we're going to put it in a capsule. And there we go. So Connor's really trying to get these guys to focus. Like, yeah, you can't just go running into stuff like this, getting yourself hurt. There's a better way, a more efficient way, a way that feels more like the heroes you want to be as you go around saving people. They still don't quite want to listen. And they're like, okay, it doesn't matter. We got to go because guess what? The Kund are on their way, and they're shooting down. And he's like, okay, so we don't have shields? Fine. Put me on the bridge. I'm going to sit outside, and I'm going to punch these blasters. I'm like, okay, cool. I love it. That's how the comic ends. Ultimately, Superboy, Man of Tomorrow issue 2, I think is a good job of keeping you invested here. One more issue, I think, depending on where this goes, I wonder if Connor's going to stay with these guys. Because in a lot of ways, this feels like Justice League Odyssey. The idea being, though, is that we don't have any idea who this new team is. We just have one character. And maybe Connor should have been on that book. But I don't know. My biggest gripe about this issue is, my only real gripe is, I cannot remember any name of the people on this crew. And I know it's mentioned, and I did not feel it was important. I'm like, you know what, I don't expect to see you all again. Issue 3, I will have the names of at least the captain down pack. The Cosmoteers are, almost feels like they're a fan club for Cosmo from Fairly Odd Parents, but I think the best standout moments here is not just the fact we're seeing the limits of what Superboy can do, but also him trying to really get into the mentality of being on his own, because he spent so much time feeling like an add-on that he's never really been by himself. I think the sort of sad thing is that Connor realized that Metropolis doesn't need 4 Kryptonians. Even if you want to be generous and say 3.5 Kryptonians, it's still no room for him. Like Tim Drake and Bart and Cassie, they do feel sort of like add-ons here. Time has moved on without them. So what's cool is his default is going back to, well, Superman would say this, or Tim would have a way out of this, or this is how Bart would do it. It's like, wait, I'm here, none of them are, I have to do this my way. I like that. I like that. I also like that Connor's trying to be the adult of the team, trying to guide these guys to what he thinks a hero should be, because he has learned under the best superheroes. So, yeah, there's that. Overall, looking forward to more. So anyway, with that in mind, if you are new to the Bucket Think Tank, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. Check out some other videos. Thanks for watching, and as always, may your fandom serve you well.